Live from downtown Bakersfield, 23 ABC News Midday starts now.
Good morning and thanks for joining us for 23 ABC News at 11 a.m. I'm Danielle Kern Camp.
And I'm Melissa Flores. We begin this morning with news from the Public Health Department. This morning, officials releasing a video saying they're testing 4 people for coronavirus right here in Kern County.
This comes after Public Health said they were testing 2 patients for the virus earlier this week. The department wants to stress there are no confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Kern County and the risk remains low to residents locally.
Meantime, in Los Angeles, officials there have declared a state of emergency as they confirm 6 cases of the potentially deadly infection in the county in the last 24 hours.
Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti and other county leaders said the declaration would allow greater coordination among various levels of government, stressing that they were acting out of, quote, an abundance of caution and not panic. Public health officials say they're aware of an assumed exposure source for all 6 cases, which rules out the possibility that they were infected through community spread. Garcetti added that it's not clear whether or not the virus will continue to spread.
This could be much better than we expect. It could be much worse than we expect. Anybody who says it will be one way or the other, we simply do not know.
9 deaths have been reported in the United States, all in Washington state. Right now, more than 93,000 cases of the illness have been confirmed globally.
Now to the latest in the race for the White House. Another candidate dropping out. Former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg has suspended his campaign.
This is Super Tuesday brings a comeback for Joe Biden, sweeping the South, now running neck and neck with Bernie Sanders in the delegate count. ABC's Serena Marshall reports from Washington.
Super Tuesday giving Joe Biden a super sweep of southern states and one less rival.
They don't call Super Tuesday for nothing.
Late this morning, Michael Bloomberg announcing he's suspending his campaign and endorsing the former vice president. Biden capturing 9 of the 15 contests and gaining at least 250 delegates thanks to surprise wins in Massachusetts, Minnesota, and Texas, where strong support from black voters helped him edge out Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders.
And we're told, well, when you got to Super Tuesday, it'd be over. So I'm here to report we are very much alive.
Well, Biden claimed the majority of states last night. It comes down to delegates, and California has a whopping 415, the most of any contest. Still to be called, even as Senator Bernie Sanders holds a commanding lead, propelled by large margins of the Hispanic vote. And capturing Utah, Colorado, and his home state, Vermont.
But tonight, I tell you with absolute confidence, we are going to win the Democratic nomination.
Elizabeth Warren coming in third in her home state. This morning, the senator's staff says she's talking to her team about the path forward.
By the end of March, nearly 2/3 of the delegates will have been decided. But March 15th, there is another debate, and that could change the landscape once again. One thing, however, is very clear. The voters making their voices heard. In Virginia, record turnout, nearly doubling the number of ballots cast compared to 2016's primary race. Serena Marshall, ABC News, Washington.
All right, let's bring in Chief Meteorologist Elena Rusk now, see what's going on outside as we anticipate some 80s today.
Yeah, you're smiling.
I'm smiling.
I'm not.
I love the big grin. Yeah, some low 80s returning today, mid 80s by tomorrow, still low 80s on Friday, all because of that high pressure leaving us with this dry weather pattern here. So right now we are warming up to 69 here in Bakersfield already. Average high for today, 67. So in the noon hour, we're getting to those 70s for you to have lunch outside with a friend maybe. Isn't that fantastic? 66 in Tehachapi already, 54 in Fraser Park, but climbing. Look at those 70s popping up now in Arvin and Maricopa. So looking ahead to later today, you're going to see those low 80s on the valley floor, the 70s in the Kern River Valley down into the Kern Desert. There's that 67, your high in Tehachapi, 67 as you climb in Fraser Park. And then things start to get a little bit warmer tomorrow, but they're cooling dramatically this weekend. Also happening this weekend, the time change. We were talking about this morning. So on Saturday, the sun comes up about 6:15, sets about 6, right? But as we spring forward on Sunday, look at how we're going to be darker later in the morning. The sun won't come up until 7:15, but it does stay up until 7 p.m.
Well, as Kern County residents made their way to the polls, there were a couple of marijuana-related measures on the county ballot.
Yeah, with 657 precincts reporting in full, right now Measure D, 60% of voters against the measure and only 40% for it.
Kern County also voted against Measure E with 58% against and 42% for.
And there were a handful of measures and one proposition impacting Kern County on ballots as well. Prop 13, the state measure that would have provided millions in bond money for public education facilities, looks to be failing. Right now, unofficial results show 100% of precincts reported and about 56% of voters are saying no to that bond.
Here's a look at some of the local measures on the ballot. We're taking a look at measures A and C, which has to do with public schools in Wasco. The Wasco Union High School District asking for $38.9 million in bonds to upgrade facilities. Right now, it's a very narrow race for Measure A, with 50.43% for the bond and 49.57% against it. That vote count is separated by only 12 votes. Measure C is a bond issue for Wasco Union School District asking for $16 million. If passed, it would be spent in 3 parts, which would include building a new administration office and bus unloading zone and upgrade other facilities. Right now, Kern County Elections Office is reporting all 13 precincts, 49% voting no on the bond, 51% voting yes.
And then there's Measure B, a $30 million bond to benefit 3 schools in the McFarland School District. 55% of voters needed to vote yes in order for it to pass. Right now, with 100% of the precincts reporting, unofficial results show that voters are leaning in favor of it. 59% for, 41% against it. Super Tuesday voters waited in long lines for hours before casting their ballot at some voting centers in Los Angeles. Take a look. Voters reported long wait times and operational errors as they arrived in person to cast their ballots. Local voting officials blamed the delays on a combination of high turnout and glitches affecting new election equipment. This is the first time LA County has had a fully redesigned election system in more than half a century. The new centers may have debuted with touchscreen devices, but they created 3-hour wait times. Senator Sanders filed an emergency motion to keep polls open for an extra 2 hours last night, but no action was taken by the courts.
Taking a look at the local races for congressional seats in the 23rd District, Republican incumbent Kevin McCarthy, who is also currently the House Minority Leader, was up against Democratic candidate Kim Mangone. With 100% of precincts reporting, McCarthy took home 70% of the vote, leaving Mangone with 30%.
And in District 21, 4 candidates appeared on the ballot. Democratic incumbent TJ Cox ran against former Congressman David Valadao, as well as Rocky De La Fuente and Ricardo De La Fuente. With 100% of precincts, Valadao earned 53% of that vote. Cox received 36%. Ricardo De La Fuente got 8% of the vote, and Rocky De La Fuente received the remaining 3%. Now Valadao and Cox will face off again in the general election this November. And in response to his primary performance, Valadao released the following statement overnight saying, quote, "I am honored to have earned the vote of so many voters across the Central Valley. We built a coalition of Democrats, Republicans, and no party preference voters throughout Fresno, Kern, Kings, and Tulare counties who are ready to have Congress start working for them again. From water to trade to the economy, everywhere I go, voters want politicians to put aside the partisan fights and get to work on the issues that matter. That's exactly what I plan to do. I look forward to earning voter support again in November."
Congressman TJ Cox also released a statement saying, quote, "I want to thank my tireless supporters and volunteers who are waging this campaign just as hard as I'm fighting for working Valley families. Thank you to my wife, Kathy, who inspires me every day, and to my kids and the kids of the Central Valley, whose bright futures make this work worth it," end quote. As for those running in races for state assembly, we start with the race for District 32. Democratic incumbent Rudy Salas ran against Republican Todd Cotta. With 100% of precincts reporting, unofficial results show Salas earned just under 55% of the vote. Cotta received 45% of that vote.
And in the 34th Assembly District, Republican incumbent Vince Fong went head-to-head with Democratic candidate Julie Solis. With all precincts now reporting, Fong unofficially earned 75% of that vote, while Solis tallied 25%. He spoke with 23 ABC about what the local support means to him.
It's certainly humbling that so many voters have felt that I've done, a good enough job of defending Kern County, but we have a lot of work to do. The fact that this election has been so successful for us, we go to November, so we're going to keep campaigning hard to get out our message.
In Assembly District 26, Republican incumbent Devin Mathis ran against Democratic candidate Drew Phelps. With all precincts reporting, Mathis received 64% of the vote, Phelps earning just under 36%. For all Congress and Assembly races, candidates will appear on the ballot this November as part of the general election.